Chrysanthemums are some awesome plants, but not only for their beautiful flowers, but for the fact that they can actually be overwintered and they will come right back up in springtime. So in this video, we're going to be going over some chrysanthemums and what happens when they do come back to life. What do we have to do with it? What's some maintenance, some care that we have to go for to keep up with these chrysanthemums? Let's go. What's going on, my plant peoples? I am the ADHD gardener, where I use gardening, houseplants, and humor as a form of mental health therapy. And look at my chrysanthemums. We're standing in my second greenhouse, and that's actually where I keep a lot of my plants and flowers that need to be overwintered, or basically stored and saved throughout the winter time so they can come back up in spring. And that's exactly what these chrysanthemums have done. They bloom around Thanksgiving, Halloween time. So whenever all the foliage and flowers are done for the season, then we have the chrysanthemums growing and blooming all at that time, which is great, but we have to do some maintenance. So until we get to that time, we can keep them alive, healthy, and all that fun stuff. A lot of my chrysanthemums did really well, as you can see here. Now, the beauties about having chrysanthemums is that they actually come back the next year around springtime. Now, I'm not sure about zones 4 and below, but I want to say at least zones 5 and up, they always have a tendency of coming back. Now, if it's deep frost, I don't believe that they will be coming back like this. However, if you do have them in a hoop house or a greenhouse throughout the entire winter, they will come back. But now that they have come back, we kind of have to do a little bit of maintenance, to encourage more growth, encourage more root or better root development. See, this one right here is actually really big. This one does not need a lot of maintenance. Some of the older leaves has fallen off. There's not really that many twigs or stems. It is dry. I need to water it, but that's what we're going to do in a little bit. Now, as you see here, most of the plant will die off. A lot of the stems, a lot of the branches, they will all die off, and you would think that the plant is dead and it will not come back. But it has, and it will come back. The only thing is that it will not come back in the same spots as it did last year. Now you see here I have all these extra twigs, branches, and stuff. No new flowers, no new leaves will come from that. Not that I've noticed. You'll always get new plant shoots off of the base of this plant. See, this was a big one. I thought this whole entire plant was not going to come back. I kept watering it just in case, light watering in the winter, because, we don't need all that. Well, as you see here, it has come back. Now, it is coming back from the base of the root. Like you would think it's not, but look at it. It has started again. It's really trying. If my plants are trying to live, why can't I try to live? First things first, you're going to need a pair of scissors. Obviously, you would ideally want a pair of garden shears, but yeah, I kind of lost mine again. So what you're going to do is actually cut off and trim off a lot of those old stems. They are not going to be coming back, so you don't need them. Feel free to chop off the old stem. Of course, this is why you need garden shears, because these scissors suck. Now notice the base stem, I am keeping that on because this is where a majority of the roots are coming from. But any of the extra sticks that come out, I do not want that. See this, for example? I don't want this. I don't want this. We're basically pruning it. That's exactly what we're doing. We're pruning it, and this will encourage actually more growth. I know it looks a little harsh in the beginning. Remember, garden shears, people, scissors, do as I say, not as I do, as my parents always said to me when I was younger. Now this root right here, this is a big root. I'm going to actually leave that here. Now this is the main stem off of that main root, so I am not cutting this completely off at all. I'm just cutting all the excess stems that are, coming really further out. Now if you have a lot of plants that are growing at this rate, you see them that they're coming in full force, and yet you have a plant that really is not going anywhere. There's no root growth coming at all from anywhere. No signs of life. Chances are this plant is dead and it is not going to come back. I was hoping that it would, but I see nothing. So something happened in the fall time. Maybe I didn't water it enough and it actually legit died. Not really sure, but I'm actually going to propagate these chrysanthemums. I'm going to show you guys later. Now, typically when you buy them at the store, they're not going to be covered with anything. It's just going to be the grow medium in the container. Now, being that these are going to be outside, these have a tendency of drying up. So what you can do is add a compost right on top of this. Aside from the liquid fertilizer that you're going to be using, you can add some compost right on top of this, and then you can add mulch on top if you want to, you know, like top dress it all together. The mulch is not necessary. I would suggest the compost though right on top of that if you have it already available. If you don't, that's okay. You can always just add the mulch on top of them if these are going to be outside plants. This generally seems to be the right size, and I'm not going to take it out just to amend the soil. So what I am just going to be doing is actually just giving it some fertilizer. I'm leaving it as is. If you do have to repot it, that's when I would repot it with different soil and different amendments. But if it's just looking fine just the way it is, then I would not even bother. I would just fertilize with some liquid fertilizer. Well, that had nothing in it. Why am I even watering that? Oh wait, that's right, it had a little chiquito. We're going to water that. Now what I have here is actually some Super Thrive. I also have fish emulsion for liquid fertilizers that you can mix in the water and give it to your plants. You can also do granular, but they take forever. Now when it comes to propagating, you actually have to get to the bottom of the root in order to propagate or get that piece of the plant. So as you see here, I'm actually going to go deep down in the root and cut a piece of it off. Ideally, just like this. And now I'm going to put this in another pot. Now I'm actually going to be using root hormone powder to encourage root growth. So I'm actually going to stick it in there, powder it up, and then that I'm going to stick in the soil right now. And I already have one here that I'm just going to stick in the soil. You can use regular soil, but this is actually some grow medium. This is actually like some peat moss mixture, but you can actually just use soil. I've done that before too, but make sure you have that root hormone powder. Now this is going to grow, it's going to take on some roots, but it's going to take a little bit. You can expect this to happen at least like within a month. This will grow up and, you know, develop some roots, and then you should be good to go. You can do this as many times as you want. This is how I wound up getting all of those right there, just through propagation. I'm actually going to do another one right here. If you can see, my gosh, I don't know if you can see. Oh, it's coming right off of the main stem. So I really got to be careful as to where I cut this off. Oh, and I just ripped it. Whoops. But look, this actually came with some roots. Remember, encourage the root growth. I'm just going to be dabbing that in there and then putting it inside of my container. Get the roots inside and boop, there you go. Now this will keep growing, and this will actually, you can propagate as many times as you want to. This will keep growing and keep offspringing. Look at that. Simple. I really hope you enjoyed this video and you get your hands on some chrysanthemums, because we're going to be growing these, maintaining them through the spring and summer, and really showcase them at the fall time. And then after that, we're going to overwinter them, and then we can do it all over again in the springtime. So I want you to come along with me, buy them chrysanthemums, grow them chrysanthemums, and let's get planting. If you did enjoy this video and you want to show me some love, then don't forget to smash that like button. I really appreciate it. Also, if you haven't already, then consider subscribing. I drop a video every week and then some in between. And last but not least, you can catch me on Facebook and Instagram. You can drop me a message. I post a lot of funny memes, a little bit on the DIY project side, behind the scenes of my videos, and a little bit on the personal side, because every now and again, a girl has got to vent. Until the next episode, you guys, you and me both are going to be planting our happiness one day at a time, one plant at a time. I'll check y'all later. Peace and love.